You seem to still be up there somewhere.
Maybe I am. There are flying saucers.
Supposing they're Martians or something in there.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Asherz, and this is...
Tobias.
Tobias, how was your weekend?
Oh boy, how was my weekend? It was fine. I don't know.
It's a fine weekend.
I don't know.
That's okay. That's better than your previous weekend.
Yeah, no, true. So, well, I guess, in terms of an update on that whole fucking situation, I got my personal Facebook profile back, and I was not able to get our business page back. What I ended up having to do was file a copyright claim with Facebook to just have them take it down entirely. So that's lost. Like, that's gone forever now. So we had to start a new Facebook business page. So if anybody out there that's listening wants to help us out and, follow what I think is a pretty cool project and organization that Emily and I have going, then find the Singular Fortean Society on Facebook. I want to say the current URL is Singular Fortean Official. And just, go ahead and follow it. Just give it a like or a follow or something. Because we were at probably 5,400 followers before, and obviously significantly less now, having to start over. So, yeah, that's pretty much how everything has been going. That's kind of what I've been up to, in addition to all of the normal stuff that I'm doing. I'm still working on my next book. I've actually got my writing partner for that, who's coming into town this weekend, and we're going to go and investigate some local Mothman sightings and such. So we'll be headed down to some active sighting areas around where I live. So he's flying in on Friday morning, and then we're going to be out and about doing stuff for that all weekend. I have some witnesses lined up and everything we can go talk to. So that'll be good. I think it'll be interesting. I don't know if we'll see Mothman or anything, but it's still fun to get out, right?
I mean, but you're probably not going to see Mothman if you don't get out. So
that's true.
You never know. You never know what you might find. But
yes.
It sounds like you'll have more to report next week about your weekend.
Yes, yeah, probably. So,
and that's okay. Sometimes you just have a fine weekend, and that's all right. Yeah, definitely. If you guys aren't, or maybe you weren't following it before, maybe you were following it before, go check out the new Singular Fortean Society Facebook page. You can invite your friends to follow it as well. So you should. Why not?
Very true.
It's a good time. It's something for you and your friends to talk about together. So
bringing families together since 2016, the Singular Fortean Society.
That's what it's all about.
It is what it's all about. How was your weekend? I hope it was more exciting than mine.
It was also fine. It was okay. No, it wasn't the weekend. Thursday night. So Thursday nights, I like to watch the Wild and Weird radio live stream. Ron and Joe, great friends of mine, good buddies. A lot of the people in the chat now have become good friends, and a lot of them listen to the show. Well, my daughter has been wanting to go on their live stream for a very long time and share some strange experiences with them. And I was not concerned, I guess is not the right word for it. One experience that her and I had together was that we actually witnessed a thunder crow, which was fun. I'm sure I've told the story before. I'll tell it again. It's pretty quick and easy. So this is about 3 years ago. I was driving my daughter to go do a follow-up on a surgery she had just had, and I'm driving, and we see a crow. Looked like a normal crow until it tried to land on the utility pole, which utility poles are T-shaped. And I could see that the wingspan on this thing was about twice the size of that utility pole. Now, while we're not talking a 30-foot wingspan, we are talking those utility poles are about 4 to 8 feet across. So we're talking anywhere from 8 to 16 feet wingspan on a crow, which is unusual.
Sure.
Of course, after seeing this and her seeing it as well, because I start asking her, I'm like, what is that? What do you see? What is it? And she's like, it's a crow. She was not impressed. And I did not follow it. I should have followed it. It's my biggest regret in life. I'm so sorry. But, you know, after finding out that this is like a whole thing, thunder crows, not thunderbirds, are like a whole thing. These giant black birds that people see. And they're not insanely massive. But again, for a crow, they are very, very large. And so,
Right.
anyway, so she wanted to tell that story, and that's fine. But she also insists on telling some other stories, which were really interesting. Some of them, like, she explains like an out of body experience that she had as like a toddler. I mean, she couldn't have been older than 3. I mean, even that seems old, because she talks about how she's in her crib, and the whole memory itself is cloaked in like a white light type of ring, and she can see herself standing in her crib. And when she describes the layout of the room, I mean, she describes it perfectly, but she should not have known what the layout of the room was like at that time, considering her age was, kind of she was too young to, keep those memories. It's just weird. I've never heard
Hmm.
this story before. And so I learned a lot about her, during this experience. It was an interesting bonding experience. And being who I am and what I do, I don't really, me and my daughter don't really bond about these types of topics. She's not really into them, and that's fine. But of course, now I'm like, well, is this something that I even want her introduced to? I mean, do I want my kid to be the weird kid? Do I want to encourage that? And I get everybody else is like, well, hell yeah, you do. But I also know what kind of stigma that carries with it. So I have my fun, cool brain that wants to be like, hell yeah, encourage this, and then I have my mom brain, my logical brain that doesn't want my kids singled out for being strange in that regard. So
Sure.
I don't know. It's interesting.
There's always part of it too, at least for me, when it comes to, like, I don't have children of my own, but when it comes to like my nieces and nephew and stuff, where I'm like, just go to school for something that'll make you money. Like
Yes.
this is not the most profitable way to spend your life.
Yeah.
Like you can be interested in it if you want, but oh God, like just be a fucking doctor or or a
Right,
dentist or
please.
something. I don't know.
I mean, it gets expensive, so yeah. It was an interesting experience either way. She says that she has more stuff she wants to talk to them about, and I have to also kind of pull back and wonder. I don't want her to not be honest with me if she is having strange experiences. However, she is a 12-year-old kid. She is, for the first time, getting some type of special attention she's never gotten before. I have to wonder how many of these stories are going to be accurate and how many will be accurate going forward. So we'll see what happens. I'm not calling my kid a liar, but I have to also be able to be the first one to call her out as being a liar if she does lie about this. So
Mhm.
we'll see. It might break our home. I don't know what's going to happen.
Oh boy. Now I'm
So
interested. I want to watch the documentary about how your family is torn apart by this.
destroyed by this.
Yes.
So,
Destroyed by the paranormal, an attention story.
give it another 10 years. Let's see what happens. So anyway, whether or not you go watch that particular live, go check out Ron and Joe's channel, Wild and Weird Radio. They're great guys. They do really good research. I trust them with my life. Go watch their stuff. So that was my weekend. That's what I did. That's not.
Nice. At least it was, something related to the paranormal.
It was related to the paranormal, very just a little bit. So
Right. That is, although that brings up a good point that I don't know that people consider all that often when it comes to shows that feature people's stories and kind of put them front and center. If that is the first contact that somebody has with sharing their story, like that's the first point of contact, is immediate, uh, like public attention,
mhm.
is that going to attract the wrong kind of person? Because the witnesses that I've worked with, even the ones that end up on television, right? It doesn't start there. And they don't know that they're going to end up on television. It
Right.
starts with, I just needed to tell somebody this. And I don't care if it goes anywhere like further than our conversation right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how you know that they're not just fishing for celebrity or something, right? So yeah, I don't know. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, obviously, but I think it's an interesting question. And I think it needs to be something that we're at least talking about or aware of, right?
Yeah, and I mean, for her being young, right? She's not actively seeking out this information on her own. She's only knows about it because it's on my TV every Thursday night.
Mhm.
But that this was her first introduction into the world of all this. Now, me being an investigator, well, I was there when she saw the Thunder Crow, so I mean, there's no reason for her to tell me her story because I was a part of it. But like I said, because she is a 12-year-old girl, is she going to make up stories just to be on the show and talk about? I don't know. We'll see what happens. On the flip side of that, I guess I didn't mention this. I didn't think about it. I'm not going to share too much information about it, just because it's still ongoing. But I did have somebody contact me about having potential implants in their body. Um, so we'll see where that goes. I'm not sure. Somebody contacted me. They said that nobody will help them. Nobody will take them seriously. They have had now 3 different implants in their body, 2 of which are now gone. He said the first one, he kind of was able to dig out on his own because it was kind of close to the surface, and said that when he did, it disappeared, like it faded away.
Hmm.
The second one was removed from his knee by a doctor, and they went and had it tested. He said it was just like a circle, like a white circle, and they never really followed up with what it was. And now there's another one that is in the thigh, like above the knee, that he can feel. He doesn't know what it is, and he's kind of freaking out about it. Now, I can't pay for people to get MRIs and X-rays. I'm so sorry. I wish I could.
That shit is so expensive.
Right. To
It's like
validate this stuff.
$10,000 to get an MRI.
It is really intense, but the red flag of it was that as when people do have implants, so I don't get a lot of people that, come to me and claim they have implants. I've had one other than this. And with her, she did have x-rays of her implants. And that was super, super interesting to me. I'm always skeptical. I have to be. It's part of my job. And so the fact that like she had x-rays and I saw them and I could see what she was talking about, that were never removed, was interesting. Now, her x-rays were paid for by, well, guess who? MUFON paid for them.
Hmm.
So, I actually suggested that, and I never do this, but suggested that this person go to MUFON and see if they'd be willing to at least pay for the x-rays to do it. And a lot of pressure lands on you with something like this. Does this person really have implants? I don't know. I can't verify it. I can't see them for myself. I didn't see them be put in. I have no idea. And unfortunately, this person has reached out to me to seek some type of answers, and I don't have them. And we can't do that for you. It doesn't really matter what your experience is, whether it's implants or abduction or creatures that you see. We can't tell you what it is that you experienced. We can only try to maybe connect you with other people that might have similar experiences that you can kind of commiserate with. We might be able to kind of theorize a little bit, but like I can't give you the answer to any of this stuff. I wish I could. I don't know. Tobias, how do you feel about the pressures of giving an answer?
I understand completely, actually, because that is something that I get asked a lot by witnesses. They want to know what I think it is, and I tell them the same thing every time. I'm much more comfortable in saying what I think something isn't
Right.
than what I think it is. And so usually what I will tell them is that, well, I think that you experienced something that you can't explain, and I don't think anybody can explain it, frankly,
Mhm.
at least not definitively. And so the difficulty then becomes there are people out there either through delusion or malfeasance, grifters, who will say that they do have answers,
Yeah.
and they'll tell people that, hey, I can explain this. Here's exactly what happened to you, and here's why. And it leads to a lot of bad results. And so I think if nothing else, the drum that we have to keep beating at least for now, until science and technology sort of catch up with these phenomena, if they ever do, so that they can be studied properly, is we have to keep telling people, everyone that will listen, that nobody has the answers to this. Nobody. Speculation is fine, but you cannot mistake it with fact. And anybody who does, again, is either crazy or a con artist. And so you have to look out for people like that. And it's too bad, because there are a lot of people, like you mentioned, this potential abductee who's got these implants. They are frightened and oftentimes desperate to find some kind of answer, some kind of narrative that makes sense, some kind of explanation. Like, we need to know how things work. That's just how our brains are built, right? Like, we need to find patterns in chaos. We need to make sense of things. And when we can't, it's almost worse than some kind of actual nefarious sort of explanation would be. Like, it's not knowing is almost worse than being able to say for certain that an extraterrestrial from another planet is taking people, because an extraterrestrial from another planet taking people is just an extraterrestrial from another planet taking people.
Right.
But you waking up with implants and shit, or experiencing some kind of like abductee phenomenon, could be anything. It could be like ETs from another planet taking people, but it could be so much worse than that too.
Yeah.
And just not knowing is difficult. And so I totally get it.
Yeah, it's a tough situation to be in, as the person experiencing it. I'm sure, because do you need validation? Can I provide you that validation? Absolutely. If you do really actually have implants in your body, can I help you with that? Can I stop them from doing it? No, I can't.
Nobody can.
None of us can, right? And that's just the way that is, unfortunately. Can I tell you what their motives are? No, I can't, because I'm not an alien and putting implants in people. Well,
Yeah.
except for every holiday, but that's how I like to party. So,
Right.
I mean,
There's enthusiastic consent involved when that happens.
right, exactly. They all ask for it. They beg for it even. Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is. But yeah, so I mean, that part is interesting, because I haven't seen, and I dig up on people, right, that reach out to me. I try to see, have they gone on shows? Who are they? What's their background? Do they have
Sure.
any criminal or background that might be tied to anything that's tied to mental illness? I didn't find anything odd. I do genuinely believe that this person is having an experience that they can't explain, and I do believe that they are afraid of what might be happening to them. And I again can offer them comfort and can offer them some degree of validation, but I don't have the answers, unless maybe they start letting me like camp out in their bedroom or whatever when it happens, and then I can like interrogate the aliens, like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, right.
What are you putting in this man?
It just becomes fucking Dateline NBC up in there.
Yeah.
It's like, why don't you take a seat? Why don't you just go ahead and take a seat and tell me what you're doing here?
It's like To Catch a Predator.
Yes.
I'll take Chris Hansen with me. He'll show up.
Absolutely. No, little gray man, you have a seat.
Do you know that this man is 41 years old?
Right. Did you know that this is a human being? Yeah. Just the best.
What do you do this? Yeah, that might be the next step. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm still very much talking with this guy. As you know, these conversations aren't, you can't just send me a message and say you have implants and I go, all right, it doesn't work
Right.
that way.
Oh, rad.
It's cool. Yeah, pretty sweet. Does it have Bluetooth? It doesn't work that way.
Right.
So we'll see if anything ever comes of it, or where it leads to, if anything. And
Sure.
of course, if I have any groundbreaking, evidence to share with you guys, I will.
Of course.
So I guess my weekend was a little bit more exciting than I let it on to be.
Yeah, fair enough. The only other thing I wanted to add too is when it comes to trying to help people, I'm more than willing to try to help people, and I'm more than willing to go out on a limb and do experimental things that
Sure.
I don't know what the efficacy of these tactics might actually be, but I'm still willing to try it, and especially when it comes to things like alien abduction, that we don't really understand it, but there definitely seems to be almost a spiritual element to it. I'm willing to get very fucking weird with that and try all kinds of different sort of traditional or even like occult remedies for something like that. But just the difference being that I don't know, like necessarily what will work or why.
Right.
And I sure as hell am not going to claim to have some kind of special knowledge that I don't actually have. We're all just kind of doing our best. We're all just kind of muddling along and taking things as they come. So
Yeah, I suggest taping a sign facing the outside of the window, like no trespassing
right,
of the bedroom, right? And then
this house protected by Chris Hansen.
yes, and Chris we trust. I don't know. I don't know what'll work. No, I will say, like I said, it's the person. I guess I'll give you guys a little bit more. I'm not identifying them. That's not going to happen. But this person has mentioned that they have no memories. Right? That's another thing of it. Do you remember this happening? How do you know they're implants? Like, what makes you think that? They have no memory of the implants being placed. They have no memories of being abducted or anything like that. But they have said that they used to be into like watching like Ancient Aliens and stuff. But they said that actually every time they see an image of a gray alien, like it really bothers them. It really makes them feel a lot of anxiety. So it is an interesting case. I'm excited to dig into it a little bit more. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, stay tuned.
So I don't have any news this week.
Oh boy, don't worry. Don't you worry about it. I have a news.
You have a news. Oh,
I do have a news that I would be happy to share. Yes.
Sorry.
So, right. Witness reports sighting of giant disc near Red Rocks Amphitheater in Colorado. So,
Ooh, okay.
in a recent report submitted to the National UFO Recording Center, or NUFORC. Now, if you're not familiar with NUFORC, fucking get on my level because they're a fantastic resource.
NUFORC's
You've got to
the shit.
use NUFORC. Anyway, so according to this recent report submitted to NUFORC, someone claiming to be an employee of Red Rocks Amphitheater in Colorado said that they, along with 12 other people, saw a giant disc-shaped craft hovering a few hundred feet above the ground. The sighting reportedly took place at approximately 1 a.m. on June 5th, following a performance by bands All Time Low with Bad Sons and Beauty School Dropout. I don't know who any of them are, but I'm also very not cool. The object was said to be hundreds of feet long with 3 levels of windows and hovered silently before vanishing into thin air. So here's a quote from the witness's report submitted to NUFORC. I was working at Red Rocks Amphitheater last night when one of our coworkers suddenly said to us, "Hey, what is that over there? It looks like a spaceship." We all turned to look in the direction he was pointing, and sure enough, there was a UFO hovering about a half a mile to a mile north of Red Rocks. A dozen of us saw it. We all kept asking each other, "Are you seeing this too?" It was a resounding yes from everyone in the group. So they watched the dark metallic object for about 30 seconds before it drifted east at an estimated 5 to 10 miles per hour and disappeared. Here's another quote from that report. What we saw was a classic disc-shaped metallic craft that was several hundred yards long. It had 3 levels of windows, almost like a really long 3-story office building. This thing was totally silent. It didn't make a sound. What's even crazier is that as soon as we all started noticing it and stopped what we were doing to pay attention to it, the craft tipped at an angle and slowly started moving belly first to the east. Then it started fading away until it was invisible. It didn't shoot off into the distance. It simply dissolved into the ether. We all watched it vanish. So whatever this object was, it didn't seem to the witness like anything with a prosaic explanation. So one final quote from this witness's report. This was not a plane. It wasn't a satellite, a drone, or anything like that. There was no mistaking what this was. We all saw a giant disc-shaped craft hovering a few hundred feet above the ground with 3 rows of windows and lights. Then we all saw it fade into nothing as soon as it knew it was being watched. There were a dozen other people who saw it with me. So fascinating stuff. Like, what sticks out to me in this is, well, 2 things, of course. Like the weird way that it flew. Like, why would it just like turn on its side and go belly first? Like, what is it, the fucking TARDIS? Like that. It's just such a weird way to fly.
Yeah.
But then also the fact that it seemingly vanished into thin air. You know, we hear about that a lot. Everything from anomalous lights to Mothman to, apparition, shadow people, whatever. There's a lot of paranormal phenomena that people report vanishing into thin air. And sometimes you hear that with UFOs, but often when you do, it'll be some kind of mysterious light that suddenly disappears. So somebody sees like an anomalous light in the sky, and it's nighttime, and then it disappears, but that could just be the light going out. But this seemed to be a little bit more drastic, we'll say, of a disappearing act. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I have come across this and have just kind of waited it out to see what comes of it. Just because I'd be interested to hear what like all of the witnesses have to say, because there were quite a few people. The disappearing act thing, yeah, that's just something that unfortunately is a part of this phenomena and makes it harder to sell to the normal people. You know
Yeah,
what I
true.
mean? Which is unfortunate because it does happen. I've seen it happen. I seen it. Actually, that was that UFO experience I had just like a couple months ago. It was like that. It looked like I told people, it was like the Wonka Vader, and it was fucking weird. And then it just disappeared, and I can't completely say it wasn't a balloon, but I saw no debris of like a Mylar balloon. I didn't see any debris that would have, coincided with it. And probably the same case here. I doubt it was something like that. But super interesting. I like the fact that it does have, I mean, just a couple witnesses, right? It's got a couple.
Well, they're claiming they and 12 other people, but you're right.
Yeah.
Now, nothing I have been able to find shows that
The
any
other
of the
witness.
additional witnesses have come forward.
Yeah.
Now, this is a story that has been shared by more than just the Singular Fortean Society. There are
Mhm.
some not, it's not going as part of CNN's 24-hour news cycle or anything, but there are various local news outlets, that are associated with major networks and stuff that have been sort of sharing it around. So I'm not super optimistic. I think we both know how these stories usually go.
Yeah.
They pop up and they make their rounds and they disappear forever, and we never find anything else out more about them. But that doesn't mean it has to be so. And the fact that it is being shared might lead to something further. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see if anybody else is willing to come forward. Of course, if anybody out there listening knows anything about this, or hell, by some strange coincidence was actually there or knows somebody that was there, I hope you'll reach out.
Yeah, I do hope that more of the witnesses come forward and share their piece of it. And maybe they don't want to, because it sounds crazy, and I get it.
Sure. Doesn't sound crazy to
um,
us.
no, it doesn't to us. We'd be more than happy for you to share it with us. I mean, fuck, I just talked about somebody with implants in their body, right? It doesn't. Oh well, it does get crazier than that. And we'll talk about it, but either way, it's a safe place to share those things. Whatever you saw, we just want to know what you saw. So I hope they do come forward eventually. I know a lot of different people are looking for the additional witnesses. But just a reminder, don't heckle folks. One ask is enough. Even sometimes that's too much.
Right. Well,
you
that's
know.
that's part of the issue to this field is you
Mhm.
get some people who are very, very enthusiastic and they want to be investigators. And some of them, I think, are doing it for um, more or less altruistic reasons. Like they want to contribute to the field, or they want to to contribute to the breadth of human knowledge on this subject, but just as many of them want to be the next fucking YouTube or reality television star.
Yeah.
And they really don't have any fucking boundaries. And the way that they treat witnesses is not great. And it's something I've seen as part of the Lake Michigan Mothman investigation, where a lot of people will just try to track these people down, and
Yeah.
they'll bother them at home, like they don't care. And I think that's really shitty behavior, personally, especially if it's already been covered somewhere else. Like, what is so special about you that you, in particular, need to talk to them yourself when the information is already out there? Like, you don't need to go track them down. There's nothing fucking special about you that means that you have to go talk to them in particular when they've already talked to somebody else. Like, get fucking real,
Yeah.
You're just doing it for clout. So just stop. It's just very, very strange behavior to me.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I agree. I've definitely seen some people use this particular instance to try to do a little too much. And don't do that. I mean, obviously there are like, I don't want to say celebrity witnesses, but they kind of are, right? People that everybody knows about. Those people clearly want to talk about it, right? They want to be asked. They want to come on your shows. They want you to write the articles. They want you to do the things. But in general, again, just because we don't think it's weird, these topics, these experiences still have a lot of stigma to them. And we have to keep that in mind, is that these are also just regular fucking people trying to have a normal human experience, but then end up with a fucked up paranormal human experience.
right. Well,
They
and they
have to be
also,
considerate that.
it's a huge time sink. Like, why would they want to
Right.
explain their story over and over again to a seemingly endless line of, quite frankly, nobodies,
Right.
people they don't fucking know, bunch of strangers. Like, why would they want to do that? Nobody would want to do that.
Yeah.
If you want to speak to witnesses, they are out there, and what you need to do is make yourself available. You
Yeah.
don't need to be a fucking crazy stalker and try to hunt them down. Make yourself available, and if they want to talk to you, they will. And I think
Like I
that's
said,
the only ethical way to go about it, frankly.
one ask is enough, and even sometimes that's too much. You just fucking read the room,
Right. Well, yeah. Yes, definitely.
Especially,
Like, I've got a TV thing coming out in a couple of weeks here, and I can't name it specifically yet or anything, but we'll talk about it obviously when it comes out. I think people will dig it. But as part of it, of course, there's like a social media guide. And one of the things that it really emphasizes is it's just like, hey, lock down your social media, because this is a guide that goes out to witnesses and all kinds of different people, because people are going to try to get into your personal life.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
It's fucking gross. So stop it.
It's weird.
Nobody owes you their attention. Nobody owes you their time. None of us are so special that we deserve to talk to anybody over anybody else. It's just weird and gross.
Especially people that haven't come forward publicly at all, like in this case. These people
Right.
might come forward 15 years from now. We don't know. We don't know. And most of the time, we just have to sit and wait. And then
Yes.
15 years from now, you'll come and listen to on Wednesdays We Talk Weird, and we'll be like, oh, by the way, remember that UFO sighting? Well, we have an update.
Yeah, totally. Like I said, I mean, the ethical way to do it is exactly what we're doing here,
Yeah.
which is you create a platform, and then you say, hey, if you want to talk to me, I'm available. And if they want to talk to you, they will. And if they don't want to talk to you, then you just got to fuck off.
Right. That's it. I mean, that's the way it is.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm happy to fuck off if somebody doesn't want to talk to me.
You're like, okay, I'll just go talk to somebody else.
Yeah, totally. Like, I got a big backlog of movies to watch and shit. Like, I got other stuff to do. It's fine.
Just wait till Monday and talk to Tobias about it. I'm sorry, Wednesday. I'm sorry. That's right. Oh, fuck.
Yes.
Time travel. Oof, it's Wednesday. That's right. We're actually going to spend a lot of time talking about the climate of the paranormal with this episode, and there's a reason for that, just because of where it takes place and how it takes place. So don't you worry, folks. I know you guys hear us bitch about this a lot, and some people like it. Actually, a lot of people really appreciate it.
I think it
Actually,
resonates with a lot of people who get,
they get it.
how much bullshit there is in this field.
It does, and that's that's where it hits for people that are new, right? If you're kind of new to all this, and maybe the show is one of your first introductions to the paranormal community, maybe you get sick of it. Maybe you stop listening to the show because we bitch about it so much, but you'll be back once you learn that we were right.
Oh, and you will learn. Like,
You
it'll
will learn.
happen.
It will happen. But there's good reason for it, and this episode is very much a testament to good reason for it, and we'll get into it. Also, I did not plan the timing of this to happen during fucking everything that's going on right now. I was gonna bring up the Conjuring House drama that's happening, but you know what? I'm not going to.
Okay.
Aside from just that, right? There's some Conjuring House drama going on, but you know what it is? Run of the mill paranormal drama. But because I'm not affiliated with any of those people, because I'm not a paranormal investigator, in that regard, I thought it was kind of a safe thing to touch on a little bit. But you know what? We won't, because
Sure.
it's nothing special, and we're not going to talk about. Here it is, the big bad word. We're not going to talk about politics and what just happened with politics.
Oh,
Um, yeah, we're
sure.
just going to leave that one alone.
Yeah, we're not
Um,
a political show. That's not
not at all.
that's not
Not at
our
all.
wheelhouse.
Not at all. So when you talk about drama within the paranormal, I prefer to it as like paranormal politics because it is politicking, not in the sense of it involves government, but because it involves different sides of the coin that just can't seem to see eye to eye. And again, I'm not going to name anything specific. We are keeping it to this show. However, the climate of the show is very fitting for what's been going on lately. So, I think it's a very important topic. Before that, though, Tobias, have you ever heard before I gave you the schedule? Have you heard of Sherry Shriner before?
Interestingly enough, I don't think so, which is weird for me because I love a good cult.
Right.
Um, but I think this one maybe was just recent enough where I was already. Well, actually, it started before we started the Singular Fortean Society.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how I missed it other than that, outside of a couple of really, really sad, tragic incidents. It just wasn't necessarily big enough to force its way onto my radar. Some things get so big that you just can't ignore them. I don't
Yeah.
think this was one of those.
Yeah. I'm kind of right there in the same boat that you are with it. That I am shocked that I had never really heard of this before. Um, I don't remember how it ended up on the topic list. It was like something that I heard in passing that was like, "Oh, there was a YouTube UFO cult." And I'm like, "Hell
Well,
yeah,
which
sign me up
one?
for that." Right. I was about it. Well, but I heard a name I hadn't heard before, right?
Okay.
Sherry Shriner. And I was like, "Well, who's that?" And then when I started like, kind of getting into it just on based on my own interest and not research for the show, I was like, "Oh, we got to talk about this. That's this is insane."
Yeah, right.
you know but again, very surprised I've never heard of this woman because I think she did coin kind of a lot of beliefs, or at least put together a lot of beliefs that I hear a lot in the paranormal, in this community. Which she didn't invent any of them by any means. She just put a lot of
Right.
them together, and I've
I was just
definitely
going to
heard of
say,
some of the
because when
things.
I was looking at sort of what the beliefs were that she was espousing, like I knew where they all originated. I was like, okay, so we've got a big fan of David Icke here, obviously, and we
Big
we can get
old
into
David Icke
that,
fan.
but like,
Yeah. Maybe we'll
It
talk about
was
David Icke on another episode, but
yeah, he needs his own episode, but like
yeah,
we can mention a little bit about how much of this comes from shit he started saying in like the 90s.
most of it, all of
Pretty
it, I
yeah,
think.
like almost all of it except for the really Christian stuff.
Like she discovered David Icke, and she's like, I can do that.
Yeah, right. Basically.
So Sherry Shriner, who is she? She was born in 1965 in Cleveland, Ohio. Of course, she's an Ohioan. Who's surprised? Nate's
Florida of the
not.
Midwest.
Florida, the Midwest. She attended a couple of different colleges. Allegedly, she attended Kent State. This part I found strange. Allegedly, she received degrees from Kent State in journalism, political science, and criminal justice. That's a pretty impressive college history, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that's a higher level of education than I would have assumed after listening to her.
Do you believe that she has all those degrees? Because I kind of don't, or had them. She's dead now,
Boy.
but you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm somebody that went. So I went to school for initially criminal psychology. Then I switched to astrophysics as my major. Then I dropped out.
Yeah.
So
Astrophysics? What was like
I
applied
did.
mathematics taken? You just tried to pick the hardest thing possible?
I had just read Einstein's autobiography and I thought that it sounded cool. So I really enjoy physics and I really enjoyed space for a very long time, and that's what I wanted to go for. And my husband was going for it too, and so I thought I was already doing his homework. I thought, well, fuck, why don't I just do this? Like I could
That's
do
fair.
this. But then I dropped out to be a parent and haven't gone back to school ever since. So it's not like it's a huge deal to like switch up your majors, but to receive degrees in all of those things, it's possible, but it just is a huge, first of all, a huge interest jump. Second of all, that's a lot of time and money. I don't know. You know? I'm just
Yeah.
saying. I can't verify her education, but allegedly it was in journalism, political science, and criminal justice. So I don't know.
Great.
She went on, of course, to become a parent. A wife and parent. And then her life just kind of became strange. Now, Sherry Shriner did grow up into an evangelical belief system. She did grow up in rural Ohio, and they are, Christian extremists, basically. Evangelism is a cult in itself.
That's fair.
I mean, let's be honest. They have some very extreme views. It is very cult like. So she was already, I mean, in her culture, and they literally train you to be able to pull people into their religion. So I mean, it's good for
Right.
her, I guess. But she claims that things continue to like get weirder and weirder for her. Throughout her life, that kind of sent her on the path that she did ultimately end up going on. She said that around, when she was around 7 years old, that's when she started seeing the devil. She said that one of Satan's demons would watch her sleep every night. And,
Yee.
to me, that sounds like, if it happened at all, classic sleep paralysis. Just trying to give some logic into this, but if you are a devout Christian and you really believe in this type of stuff, then it does make sense for your mind to go, oh, it's the devil.
I've investigated a lot of cases of nighttime visitation, and I don't think most of the ones that I have investigated can be easily explained by something like sleep paralysis, although even sleep paralysis is just sort of a convenient sort of hand wavy explanation,
Oh yeah, it can
because
be.
we don't really know whether or not what is being seen is being created by the human mind, or if that hypnagogic or hypnopompic state is just allowing it to be seen or something similar. But anyway, so I've investigated a lot of cases like this of people who have said that they're being observed often while they're in bed sleeping. So that right away is something that I wouldn't dismiss. Certainly. Like, did she turn out to be like probably an evil, crazy person? Well, yeah, maybe, but that experience by itself, I would pay attention to.
Could have been anomalous, could have been psychological, could be easily explained. influenced by religion. We don't know. I don't know. She probably does go on to kind of give a little bit more detail about those experiences. Just based off of the description that she gave alone was that it was a dark figured 7 foot tall demon that would visit her. You know, who knows? That's what she says happened. Now in 1994, she started being spoken to by God himself, and he started sending her prophetic messages, which I don't know, man. God talks to people, I guess, in different ways. What do you want
Well,
me to say about that one?
it's like this is nothing we've never heard before.
Right.
And none of these
Yes.
prophecies ever come true.
Ever.
So
Yeah.
I
So
don't know
far.
what's really talking to these people, if anything at all. I think a lot of them make
Yeah.
it up. Some of them might be mentally ill, and anybody else that you can't really explain, fucking, I don't know, Fort's cosmic joker is just messing with them. I don't know what to tell you, because none of it seems to be real in the sense that it ever comes true.
Right. And we can't prove it. We can't really disprove it, except for the fact that it never comes true, I guess. So
Right.
there's more evidence against it than there is for it. I can say that much. So who knows? But this kind of led into her belief that she was not just Sherry, she was actually the daughter of God. And what I mean by that is not in the sense of everybody is God's children, but that she was likening herself to Jesus.
Yeah, so like in the batshit crazy sense. That's how she meant
Right.
it.
Yes, so God impregnated her mother miraculously without using his penis, and she was born. I guess. I don't know if she said that much, but
That's a lot of detail. I'm just
I'm
saying.
just saying. I'm just saying that that's probably, that's what happened, right? God
Right.
has magic sperm. So, um
No need for a dick. The Immaculate Conception story.
yeah, exactly. The sperms just swim right in, right to the egg. There's just one magic sperm. Anyway, so that is what she those were her claims that she was making. Now, in the early 2000s, she found David Icke and started following a lot of his theories. I don't believe she ever even says that she was an Icke follower.
I
I
I,
haven't come
I
across
didn't see anything.
Yeah, I haven't come across anything that says that that's where she drew her inspiration from, but I mean, like, that's where, like, she totally ripped him off.
Obviously, yeah.
She's claiming these are original ideas that were from God. No, she got them from David Icke, which makes sense because if this all kind of started for her in the 90s into the early 2000s, well, that's prime time, right? For
Oh
that type
yeah,
of thing.
that was like David Icke's fucking peak.
Yeah,
So
that was his moment. Um, and so of course she starts getting into the reptilian theory, and we kind of touched on it a little bit on the show, not much.
yeah,
I don't. Maybe we will one day. But the reptilian theory, for anybody that doesn't know, says that basically anybody who's famous, anybody who is in any type of political power or any authority, really, is not a human at all, but actually a reptilian.
yeah. I mean that
Um,
pretty much sums it up. Like people have different ideas about how that comes along. Some people think that there are ancient hidden bloodlines, and they'll try to like trace the genealogy of celebrities back to like these fucking royal families that they think are reptilian families, and some people, like this particular person, uh, think that it's a form of possession, like a demonic possession. So who knows?
or kind of almost like a changeling is kind of how she describes them at some point. She says that these reptilians work for the devil. So they're basically the same thing as like demons, and their whole entire goal is to turn regular humans into these reptilian people.
Right.
And so that's why I mentioned a changeling, because that's what they do essentially, except for children and babies.
Yeah. Well, she's confusing too because she'll talk about like reptilians, but then she'll talk about like clones and call people like witches or vampires, and it's almost, or like vampire demons, and I don't think she knows or cares what words mean a lot of the time. It's like she just throws it out there,
Yeah.
just whatever. And she'll use a lot of these terms almost interchangeably. And there doesn't seem to be like a real strict fucking meaning behind a lot of them, Like
Yeah.
she's just making it up as she goes along.
Yeah, I have to agree. I don't think I think that all of the terms that she uses, like you mentioned, I think they're just all a placeholder for demon, right? Clearly.
Yeah, fair.
Do you know? Have you ever come across anybody like that in this community?
No, okay. Personally, once, but he was nice enough. I don't remember his name. It was at a conference, and he had written a couple of books, and he wanted to give me one of his books,
Oh,
and I took it, and like that was fine. And it's really all about this Christian narrative surrounding like the end times and the end of the world, and sort of how, everything is demons. And by everything, I mean like every part of the paranormal is demons.
sure.
So I haven't really run across like a real vehement sort of like Bible thumping, like in your face type when it comes to that. But I am aware that they're out there. Now I've covered people like that for the Singular Fortean Society, just writing the news or whatever. Right. But yeah, luckily I don't see a lot of them in the wild. I think we hang out at different places probably.
That's probably true. Yeah. No, I see a lot of them on social media. Not necessarily people that have platforms, but definitely people who, it's all demons.
Oh,
That's
sure.
popular, I guess. That's okay. Honestly, I'd say that a lot of the paranormal community are like hardcore Christians. Like it is really interesting to see that play out.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of them are. I know because they hate me. So
No, there's a lot of overlap between religious belief
yeah.
and conservatism and the paranormal. I mean, there really,
Yeah.
really is.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying one way or I'm not making a judgment on that, but it is a literal fact. And it's
Yes.
something people should be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. But of course, according to Sherry Schreiner, she says only 1 in 4 people are humans. The rest of them are, well, clones, reptilians, or these like super awesome robots, I guess.
Oh man, can I be a
Um,
super awesome robot?
well, I was gonna say, right? There's 3 of us here. There's me, you, and then there's Nate.
Yeah.
So only one of us can be human. I think we all agree that none of us are.
Okay.
So
So Emily's probably the human.
Emily, I could buy as human. Yes,
Right.
I could buy
Okay.
that.
So then can I be the
Um,
super awesome robot?
so okay, you can be the robot.
All right.
Um, what's Nate gonna be? He can't be a clone of a human man because like he was literally just fighting dino beavers at Skinwalker Ranch with his bare hands. So, but but I don't know. He can't be a reptilian either because he hates money. Um, Nate opts that he is a Skinwalker.
That's
Okay,
not
this
even an
isn't part of
option.
it.
If you're not
Yeah.
going to take this seriously, then
Oh, I was gonna let him. You're right. He should take this seriously.
I'm
Gosh.
saying he's a clone and you're a reptilian.
And I get to be a reptilian. Great,
Yeah.
wonderful.
It's settled.
That
It's all settled science now. We figured
well,
it
and
out.
that makes sense because let me tell you, one of the claims that I heard directly from Sherry Schreiner's mouth herself. I did listen to a lot of the things that she talks about, unfortunately. But one of the things that she claims about how she can prove that these celebrities are non-human, she uses Lady Gaga as a great example at one point.
Oh God.
And
Yeah.
she talks about how frequently Lady Gaga changes her appearance because her hair. They can just change their hair at will. They can just will it to whatever color they want it to be. There's no such thing as haircuts or wigs or color. As a reptilian, you just change your hair to whatever color you want it to be.
Yeah.
So if anybody
Yes.
wanted to know how I became a redhead, that's how.
Right. Well, this is just one example of many,
Many.
totally normal, innocuous things that she will, or she would, she has passed away now. She would point out as evidence for reptilians or this demonic reptilian conspiracy. So it would be stuff like, oh yeah, look at Lady, look at Lady Gaga and how different she looks all the time. It could be that it's multiple people trying to pretend that they're her. It could be that she's a shape-shifting fucking demon reptilian. But she would also point out stuff like totally normal glitches in video. Now, ever since we started downloading video, or I should say uploading videos to the internet, we have been seeing a lot more like compression errors and stuff, and that's fucking normal. Like that just is what it is. But it does lead to some like blurring or pixelation or distorted features now and again when there's some kind of like usually compression error because you're taking these giant files and you're trying to upload them to like social media, and social media doesn't have the fucking like memory to deal with that, and so it has to compress the file down to a manageable size, and so you can get some like funny looking stuff every once in a while. And when that happens, she's just like, fuck, reptilian right there. Yep. You all saw it. Obama's like face morphed for a fraction of a second during that speech. Reptilian. And so that's the level of evidence we're dealing with here.
Yeah. And a lot of that talk that you hear people come up with, they probably got it from her or David Icke.
Yes.
And that's where it comes from. It's just absurd, right? This is clearly an example of these things losing their cool and trying to transform back into their true form, but then trying to keep it together again.
It's hard to look like a human all the time.
It is. Yeah, no, it's really tough. Trust me, if you see me at the grocery store, I'm not even the same person. Don't approach me.
You've got like a big crocodile tail and shit, and you're just like, look, guys, I just couldn't today, all right?
Exactly. That's why everybody screams and runs in horror. I always have to use self-checkout because they all fucking laughed. I don't know. It's weird.
bunch of speciesists.
Right. Fuck them. So yeah, this is, I mean, she does stuff like this a lot. There's so much you can find this woman saying. And like I said, she in the early 2000s, she gets on the internet and she finds a platform for this type of thing in the form of multiple ways. Of course, first it started with Blog Talk Radio, which a lot of our friends, in this field have started their podcasts over there. This is like the original she's one of the original podcasters, unfortunately. And then of course that morphed into YouTube. She had several websites that she ran at a time. Some of them are still kind of half-assed up that you can look at. But I think at one point she had like 12 total. And that's pretty insane. So she became a regular content creator, for this type of stuff. And she would go on to say other beliefs that she had. Just every major event, everything. It doesn't matter what it was some type of false flag, of course.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's right. One of those.
Yeah, one of those. She frequently used the term sheeple.
You've got to wake up, sheeple.
Constantly. Yep, that's what. Oh, you should show this to the sheeple. Keep talking to the sheeple. She would take regular call-ins from people. Eventually, she had a massive following, and would take call-ins from people. And they would be like, "Well, my family." I heard one phone call she had with a woman, and it was like, "My family doesn't believe me. My husband is threatening to have me committed, and once they arrive, I guess Jesus or whoever, they'll know that I was right." And she's just like, "Well, even if the sheeple don't believe you, you got to keep talking about this. You got to keep telling everybody because people need to know, And so there was some mass apocalyptic event that's set to happen, right? One thing that she would say is that aliens themselves, extraterrestrials, not reptilians. I'm assuming she means grays or maybe maybe the fucking weirdo, mantis.
Mantis cocks.
The mantis cocks are part of them, but she would say that extraterrestrials are angels and that the Bible itself, the Holy Bible that the Christians follow, has been purposefully mistranslated by the evil reptilians. So even if you actually go to church and you're following God, to the T on the Bible, you're still wrong.
So like
Uh,
mantis cucks are angels?
yeah.
I didn't. Okay. Okay. That's interesting. So okay. Well, this makes sense. So in the mistranslation of the Bible, they left out all the times then that angels stand in the corner and masturbate while you have sex with your alien gray girlfriend.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
in the original. It was in the Old Testament. It was in the Book
Right.
of Enoch, and they just ripped that part out.
Yeah.
Right? They
No,
thought
I
it was
get it.
funny.
That's how angels party, I
That
guess.
is how they party. Yeah,
Oh,
that is.
right. Well,
And
no kink shaming here.
and humans themselves, pure humans, are these extraterrestrials also.
Oh,
So
okay.
definitely, oh my God, what's his name? The guy that pushes all the Bible stuff. Oh Jesus, I can't remember his fucking name. I didn't write it down. The guy that talks about the Anunnaki and shit.
Like, I
Oh,
mean, there's a
fuck.
lot of guys who talk about the Anunnaki.
I know, but he's like the guy. I feel like his name is Zachary something.
Oh,
Maybe I'm
Zachariah
wrong.
Sitchin?
There you go. Yep, that guy.
Sure.
That guy. So she's just stealing from everybody, really. Let's be honest.
That's fair. I mean, so far, I'm seeing obviously David Icke, some Zachariah Sitchin, a little bit of Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Sure. It's
Yeah.
all in there. It's
It's
like
all in there.
it's just a heady like brew of 90s and 2000s fucking fringe bullshit.
Oh yeah. She is just going overboard with all of it. Um so again, she's amassing a following. She's getting bigger and bigger. People want to join her movements. They believe in what she's saying. And we have smart listeners that listen to the show. You guys are the best, obviously, because you listen to the show.
True.
I'm not gonna single anybody out and say that you are a bad person for your beliefs. That's not what we're here to do. However, you are a bad person if you fall into extremist beliefs, and you can change that. You don't have to be an extremist. These are definitely very extremist beliefs, and be careful of that. It's very easy to fall into. When we look at the type of people who followed her stuff, and now we kind of have some people who have left her belief system and have gone on to be different people. I mean, some of the things that we kind of know about these folks is that this she's talking about topics that are bigger than ourselves, right? And it's in a way to make us as humans feel better. If you are having a very tragic life, or you've had a very tragic life, right? Maybe you've had some trauma, a terrible upbringing, maybe just shit's not going your way and hasn't for the last couple of years, who knows. It's kind of nicer to go to bed thinking, well, I'm a pure human being, and that means that I am also an alien, and that makes me cooler than everybody else, and that's what helps you get through your day. I mean, I kind of get it. I kind of understand
Right.
how somebody can fall into this trap. Now, if you just jump right into Sherry Shriner, most people aren't going to be like, oh yeah, that's, I follow her. This was a progression. A lot of these people kind of followed her throughout, and then once she had so many people backing her, at that point, then people look at that and go, well, she's got a big audience. She
Right.
can't be wrong. And we see that happen now in the paranormal. Like, we see
Happens
that a lot
all the fucking
all the
time.
time.
There
All the
are
time.
so many aspiring cult leaders in the
Mhm.
paranormal at any
Yep.
given fucking time that I want to pull my hair out. And
Yeah.
look, nobody joins a cult on purpose.
No.
Nobody thinks they're joining a fucking cult. They always start by trying they always start by trying to provide some kind of answer to a question that you might have, and it's always a big fucking question that frankly nobody really has the answer to, but it provides people with meaning and direction and community, and it's very attractive because of
Yeah.
that. And I don't think that people can really see what's happening until they're in. It's like quicksand that you don't know you're in it until you're sinking, right?
Right.
And I just wish that people we're a little more on alert for stuff like that in the paranormal sphere, as it were, because there's a lot of it. Like think about the number of people that you know of on social media where if you push back against an idea that they have presented, will try to shut you down completely, gaslight you, sick their followers on you. Like this is all batshit crazy cult leader behavior, and we see
Exactly.
a lot of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't do any good for like myself or Tobias to call these people out. On the flip side of that, we don't need to. And the reason why we don't need to is because we are confident in the information that we give you guys. Like, you can't rock our foundations in a bad way. You can change our minds, and we're open to that.
Yeah,
But that is like the difference between someone like myself and Tobias and some of these people with this cult leader mentality is that if you question them, you're not allowed. And if you do that, they're going to come after you, and they're going to have an army of people that come after you. And I'm never going to ask you guys to go after anybody.
no,
It's not going to happen. you know it's just not the way it should be. Just because, differences of opinions happen in this community, especially when you're talking about something like, I don't know, the unexplained, right? It's unexplained for a reason. And wasting your time to really go to war over a difference of opinion at this point is just not worth it. um it's more than it needs to be, right? So again, I'm not going to be like, well, you guys shouldn't I can think of, I don't know, god, at least three, right, just right off the top of my head, that I could fucking name drop at the moment and be like, yeah, these people definitely exhibits this cult like mentality, and tell you not to follow them. But I'm not going to. Look for the signs, and one of those signs is that if anybody deviates from their thoughts, their opinions, their views, and is suddenly the bad guy, that's a red flag.
yes,
If they are constantly at war with somebody, if they constantly have drama with maybe one person or different people, and they're always talking about that drama all the time, that's another red flag. You know, um, just stay away from those people. It's not, the only thing that we can do is stop giving them such an audience and such a platform, to spew this hateful bullshit on, right? And that is kind of where we're going to go here in a minute when it comes to Sherry Shriner, and we can showcase um, where this can end up if we continue to just kind of let that shit slide, and not try to fight it. And I don't mean fight it in a sense of, again, being direct with them and be like, you're a piece of shit. Just fucking ignore them.
right.
That's the best we can do. But before we do, spoiler alert, this ends in death. But this wasn't the first death that took place that was potentially under the hand of Sherry Shriner. So Sherry ends up meeting a young girl. She meets a lot of people, and she ends up meeting a 22-year-old college student named Kelly. I think it's Pagenley? Pagenley?
Yeah, I was wondering how to pronounce that as well. And I don't know.
I've watched so many documentaries about
Pingili,
her,
yeah, something like that.
and I should know this, but whatever. Her name's Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly's fine.
And Sherry had convinced Kelly that it would be better for her in the long run, and a really good idea, if she quit college and became her transcriber. She was definitely fighting a more worthy cause, right, as a transcriber than she was going to college. It was a waste of time. Kelly became, of course, very obsessed with the ideas that Sherry was putting out there. She really genuinely thought that some type of holy war was getting ready to take place, that the end of days were coming. She was trying to kind of, enlist her regular family and friends into it, and they all just kind of thought that she was quirky. And thought that it was very odd how much she talked about this, but they just thought she was a very religious, quirky person. And Unfortunately, in December of 2012, Kelly was found by herself in the middle of a field, and she had taken a bunch of medication. She had overdosed and committed suicide.
Right.
And while, you know, the details of exactly why are a little bit up for debate, of course, when anybody commits suicide, it's not like we can bring them back and be like, why the fuck did you do that? A lot of people believe, especially her friends and family, that it was because of the cult. It was because of Sherry and her beliefs, and they thought that Kelly really was afraid for the future.
Right. Well, and not necessarily just that either. There was a sort of okay. So up to this point, because of the influence of uh, of the Oregon Warriors or whatever the fuck they were calling
Yeah.
themselves, Kelly believed that she had been immersed in spiritual warfare,
Yeah.
right? Like she really felt like she had been fighting these demonic influences. And it's possible that in addition to escaping from this mortal coil that was the cause of so much torment, that this also was sort of sold as a another form of spiritual evolution. So this is the next natural step. Like she could achieve the next level here by leaving her mortal body behind, which
So
is super fucked up.
so now Sherry is also stealing from Heaven's Gate.
Right. I mean, this was in 2012, so that was a good 15 years after Heaven's Gate. So sure, but and again, we can't know what was going through Kelly's head, unfortunately.
Right.
But there are myriad possibilities, and that's one of them. What we do know is how the cult leader responded to this. And it was by, now, this is going to be shocking. So I hope you're all sitting down. She responded by, you guessed it, taking zero fucking responsibility. None.
Yeah. Right. That is where the problem really comes into play here, is that not only did she not take responsibility, she said Kelly did not commit suicide. This was actually an assassination done by NATO.
Yeah, right. No, I mean that is what she fucking said. I mean, there's no denying it. This was a murder, and this is how narcissistic these cult leaders can be. So Sherry says this was a murder done to discredit her,
Yeah.
basically, to make her look bad. They'll set it up like a suicide, so she'll look bad in the fucking media, basically, which is about as unhinged of a take as you could possibly have in this situation. I would think a normal person would be going, oh man, I really need to revisit my message if it has convinced a follower of mine to kill themselves for some fucking reason. Holy shit. I'm going to go rethink my whole life. I'm going to go join a monastery. Like, what the fuck? But no.
Or at least get some fucking therapy,
Something. Yes.
This was somebody that worked closely with her, so I mean, you would think that this would be equally traumatizing to her. No, it wasn't. It was just, sadly enough, another person being used to further her reach, to further her own narrative. We've played with the idea of going video with the podcast, and I'm kind of sad that that you can't, because my fucking face right now.
Right, you would get to see me talking a lot with my hands because I get very excited and animated,
standing up and jumping around. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. This is disgusting. I mean, there really is no other way to put it. At this point in time, Sherry went from being like just a fucking another crazy person on the internet to like fucking straight up a piece of shit. Like there was no doubt about it at that point, you know. And people bought it. You know, people actually bought into this because, of course, whenever she talks, that's another thing. Listen how these people talk. I mean, it is hard not to talk about yourself, right? When it's like just you sitting, when it's just you and I sitting here recording, like, yeah, we're going to talk about ourselves. There's a healthy degree of it. When you listen to Sherry talk and talk and talk, I mean, she goes on and on and on about how important she is, how people hate her. You know, she brags about assassination attempts on her own life all the time. Like none of that shit is actually happening. Like she's not actually inherently special. People hate her because she's batshit crazy. But after this point in time, people hate her because her fucking her message that she's sending out to people is now making them kill themselves.
Right.
And that's just sick. And she goes on to then use it to pad her platform even more. And people that are already, who, you know, the people that are following her, again, maybe some of it is mental illness, right? There's got to be that at play here.
Yeah.
Some of it is just, you know, well, mental illness in the form of trauma and the way that you're raised and your beliefs. And, you know, it does happen. We can't act like these people are just normal. They're not. You know, there's something here that makes you believe in this type of thing.
Yes.
And for them to then eat that shit up because they did, and they're like, oh my god, see, it validated their beliefs, and she knew that that's what she was doing when she made that claim.
Right. These are fragile, vulnerable people.
Yes.
And again, we see this all the time in the paranormal. I see paranormal organizations and, you know, fucking paracelebrities, whatever, that seem to very clearly target vulnerable, fragile people because that's who is susceptible to this
Yeah.
kind of shit. People who are lonely, people who are looking for answers, people whose lives didn't exactly turn out the way that they wanted them to, people suffering from untreated mental illness, all of this shit that all of this shit that just means people need help. And what they're
Yeah.
getting instead is used by these fucking parasites. And it's disgusting. And,
Right.
you know, it just to really drive this home, when Kelly was found in this fucking field where she died by herself, alone, probably fucking scared, she was wearing a fucking organ pendant. If you don't know what organ
Yeah.
is, it's some made up bullshit that people think is this universal life force, but really it's just nothing because it's made up. And she's wearing this organ fucking pendant that was sold by Sherry's fucking website for like $50. So she must have bought it off of there. And she had it on her when she fucking died. You know, it's just so fucking disgusting.
Yeah. And and not to mention the fact that her body was found by two kids. You know, there's another trauma for someone else. You know, it just sucks. Like this whole situation is terrible, and it's gonna get worse, and we're gonna get there. But
I know you wouldn't believe it right now, but it does get worse.
It fucking gets much worse. So this whole experience bonds them all together as a community in the worst way possible. Again, it validates Sherry. It validates the people that believe in Sherry, right? They're like, oh shit, she's right. Look, something did happen to somebody. They were killed by NATO, and because they don't want people to know the truth. And you know, when Sherry says that, oh, people have tried to kill me all the time, they're like, oh, see, they were trying to get Sherry, they got Kelly instead. And it's just unfortunate. So of course this bonds them all together, and then Oregon becomes a big deal in Sherry's teachings, I guess, for lack of a better term, right? Teachings is, I guess, correct.
Yeah, well, because she is a self-avowed prophet.
Right.
And so,
yes.
Yeah, by this time, she's fully into being this supposed prophet. And so, yeah, I mean, what she's doing more than anything is she is proselytizing. she's preaching to people, and she sees this as a form of ministry, or at least that's how she refers to it, as her fucking ministry. So yeah, no, I think that's perfectly accurate.
And let me tell you guys right now, we'll take a pause for a second and say, religion doesn't have to be involved for it to be a toxic environment with cult-like tendencies. So just because the person that you might be thinking about that might have had those red flags we kind of went over for a second, just because they're not preaching religion to you, some of them might, some might not, doesn't mean that they are not capable of falling into this same type of scenario
Right.
that we're going over. That can definitely happen. So Oregon, like you said, Tobias, it is, what is it? It's nothing. It's it's literally nothing. It's a belief of a specific energy that doesn't exist, and you can go on to look at the history of Oregon. She did not. She didn't make it. It was, again, she stole it from somebody else because that's what she does.
Absolutely, this is just another piece that she sort of plucked out
Yeah.
of weird, history or whatever, and decided to
Yeah.
use that. For anybody interested, it was originally hypothesized in the 1930s by Wilhelm Reich. And essentially, it's what I said. It's supposed to be this sort of like universal energy that sort of ties everything together. And at the time, it was this pseudoscientific, like medical theory where people believed that either too much or not enough Oregon would be bad, could cause fucking cancer and stuff, and so people would make these devices to like capture it or diffuse it, release blockages and things like that. It's interesting to me now that we're talking about it. You can almost see this sort of evolution in these like weird energy theories into modern day, because you still have people talking about things like energy work. Now they talk about like Reiki instead of like Oregon for the most part. I mean, Oregon might still be a thing. I don't hear about it a lot, but it certainly was a thing with these fucking people. But you do hear still a lot of that kind of pseudoscientific stuff going on in the paranormal. And hey, if that's your thing, that's fine. I hope that you're not replacing Western medicine with it, but if you're using it as a supplement or something, I think that's fine. Even if it's just a placebo, it's probably still has some benefit. But there's a limit, and it definitely falls into the category of things we can't prove. So
Right.
if you want to believe it, that's on you, but don't be surprised when other people don't.
Well, and the fact of the matter is that you mentioned the word placebo. Placebo does work. Belief does work. So I mean, if you believe in anything strong enough, it will tend to have positive side effects, and that's certainly an interesting topic, to go over. Just, I guess, for whatever reason you haven't. A lot of us have heard the concept of it, but look into the studies of it. It does have benefits to it. So it's not to say that it's completely benefitless, just that it's not working because of why you're being told it works. It's working because you believe it works.
Right.
That's why. Which, again, stuff that we haven't proven, other than, yeah, it seems like it does work because we believe that it does, so therefore it does. And I think that's an okay explanation. Oregon is not a it's not supposed to be anything physical, but Sherry sold these things called Oregon blasters, and they're ugly as fuck.
So stupid.
It looks like pieces of like shaved metal frozen in like turkey gravy or something.
Yeah, they're like
they're
these little
really
fucking
ugly.
hockey puck looking things.
Yeah, and they were made out of quartz crystal, copper, aluminum. There was a copper wire in the center of it. They were her Oregon blasters, and these work for everything. They keep the scary reptilians away. They will clear out the chemtrails from looming over your house, which is a whole nother. Of course, chemtrails are a part of her belief. Everything is, and
Right.
anything. You have any illnesses, it'll take care of that. You have any mental illness, it'll take care of that. It's a cure all, right? It's snake oil. That's what it is.
Basically, yes.
And she would sell these, and people would buy them, and she'd be like, "Well, I don't care, they work." And then again, of course, people would get them, and they would have them for whatever intended purpose that they have. But because the placebo effect is very real, it would seem like it worked for things.
Yeah.
So that, again, validates these people's belief in Sherry and what she's spouting out.
Oh, right. And before anybody like gets all mad and then comes at me and is just like, I'm an energy healer and how dare you, Tobias? Like, look, like that's cool and I hope it works and I want it to be real too. But I mean, there's no proof, like zero. And so like I've said before, and I'm going to keep saying this forever, none of us get to be mad at anybody for not believing in something for which we do not have proof. If I tell somebody about some of the paranormal experiences I had and they're like, I don't believe that any of that happened, I can't exactly get mad at them because I don't have any fucking proof. I just have to be like, okay, agree to disagree then, I guess,
Yep.
But that's the difference between people like us and people like Sherry. Because in the cult, there is no room for disbelief. If you don't believe that Orgon fucking works, then you can get the fuck out because you're probably a demonic reptilian.
Exactly. That is the difference. And I will say, like, I am a crystal bitch. Like, that is my shit right there. I buy them. I believe in what they do, but I understand why other people don't. And I can't give you a scientific explanation for it aside from because I believe that it works, it does.
Sure.
So, I am one of those people. And I don't care if Tobias is or isn't. And like you said, Tobias, that's the difference. If I told you to get the fuck off my show, that would be the problem, right? If I can't accept the fact that there are people that aren't going to believe me unless I have scientific proof of what's going on, like there's a problem then with me. It's not the problem isn't with everybody else.
Right.
And that's the difference. So yes, I agree. Yeah, don't come for us. I probably own more crystals than you do, whoever you are.
Sure, I do. I've done all kinds of weird shit. I have more books on the occult than is normal, certainly.
Right. Right.
And I am a practitioner of all kinds of weird shit. And sometimes there does seem to be an interesting result. It does seem to work. I don't know why. I don't know if it's necessarily confirmation bias or if there's something to it. But what I do know is that, like, one, I don't talk about it a lot because it's personal. And two, if anybody was like, oh, that's just a coincidence, I'd have to be like, yeah, I guess maybe, because the reality is I don't have any fucking proof to the contrary.
Yeah. Yeah, you can rip my pretty rocks from my cold dead fingers, but I can't take it into a lab and prove that it works like that. And I understand that. As an investigator, as a researcher of these topics that wants to find scientific explanations, I get it.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with that. You can damn well believe whatever you want to. It's when you expect other people to believe that it becomes the problem. When you say that other people are wrong because they do not have the same experience that you do with this stuff, that's when all of your logic and reason has exited, and you need to go search for it. Right. You need to find that shit, pick and put it back in.
Get right.
So, but fuck Oregon. It doesn't work. Oregon does not work.
Fuck Oregon. All my homies hate Oregon.
All of them hate Oregon. We're not here for that. If I ever find any in the wild, I'm smashing it. So don't sell that.
Well, you
shit
can't. It's an energy. So, like, the idea was that she had these collectors, basically, that would, like, collect and store Oregon or something, I guess, and then just kind of like radiate it also or whatever, which is nonsense because that's not even how it's supposed to work. You're not even getting your made up shit right.
I mean, well, right, and you could have put it in something that's prettier. Like, you could have put it in literally anything. Like, you could have sold fucking Oregon teacups, right? And at least then, like, it's something you can use at home.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, so she starts selling this snake oil, and she's all for it. And people are buying it. People are fucking buying it. And again, they are believing it. Straight from her website. Oregon blasters keep away aliens, demons, robots, and even zombies.
Well, you gotta watch out. You gotta be ready for zombies at any time. And Oregon is to zombies what garlic is to vampires.
Everybody knows that.
Obviously.
Yeah, it's in every zombie horror movie I've ever watched.
Yeah, read a book. God.
It's not the shotgun, it's the Oregon, is what it
Yes.
That's the cure for zombies. It just throws you through a loop. Like you start like pulling at this thread, and she's like, okay, it's reptilians. And then she's like, well, actually, they're clones now. And then she's like, oh, by the way, there's robots too. Now there's zombies. It just keeps building. I don't know.
It's just a bunch of different words for people she doesn't like.
Exactly. Right. Right. Anybody and everybody that she doesn't like. So she's building this giant community, and here we're going to get to the climax of Sherry's run as a cult leader.
Yeah.
So 2016, a woman by the name of Barbara Rogers and then a man by the name of Stephen Maneo meet through Sherry's platform. I'm not sure exactly how. Just like how you meet, me and Tobias, I think I found you on Twitter or something. Just how you meet people through these things.
Yeah, I think it was through, they were both commenting on like the Facebook page or something and just kind of hit it off. Just totally normal.
Yeah. Very, very normal, and there's nothing wrong with that. Meet your internet friends,
Sure.
I've definitely curated a lot better and closer friendships with people online than I have in my real life, and it's pretty nice. It's neat, right? That's the fun part about this, is all the people you meet. And they obviously form a bond over Sherry's beliefs, or what is now their beliefs, right? And they form a romantic relationship. Very, very fast, very, very hot and heavy. They quickly moved in together, and just, enjoyed being in each other's presence. But Barbara made a grave mistake one day, and I'm going to try to be serious about this because
It is serious, but it is also very stupid.
It's very ridiculous. Barbara had posted that she had posted her meal one time and had expressed how much she enjoyed it on social media. She had a meal of steak tartare, which, if you don't know, is like raw steak.
It is gross, but it doesn't mean that you're a fucking vampire.
Well, right, spoiler alert. Everybody in Sherry's community, her Oregon warriors or whatever, they hated that, and they said that, wow, clearly Barbara is one of the reptilian people.
Well, Sherry hated it. And then as soon as she was like, oh, I think Barbara might be possessed by a vampire demon, then everybody else was like, oh, yeah, no, she totally is. That's what I thought too. Because again, it's a cult, and you've got this cult leader and cult follower mentality where when Sherry says something, that shit becomes law, and then everybody just fucking circles the wagons around it.
And let me tell you what I think happened here up until that point, because I see it now. And as soon as I mention this, I know there's people listening to this, their ears are going to perk up and they're going to go, I know exactly who the fuck you're talking about. What I think happened is, I don't think Sherry necessarily had an issue with steak tartare. No, she might not have liked it or whatever. Like you said, Tobias, it's gross.
Sure.
But I think that if we dug deeper, we would find a lot of people who ended up becoming targets of Sherry's.
Yeah.
I think that one thing that people will do in this community, and I said that, they have constant turmoil with other people in this community. Now, Stephen was working on his own YouTube channel, or his own platform. Um, he had been making his own videos and stuff, and people were getting interested in his stuff. And I think that Sherry at the time, I think she probably constantly would go after people that she maybe felt threatened by, that were up and coming, maybe felt threatened by because they had slightly different beliefs than she did. And she would constantly target people and then use her audience to target those people and bully them out of the community.
Oh, definitely. One other thing to keep in mind with Sherry and Steven's relationship is that they had known each other for a long time, years at this point.
Yes.
And so Barbara, on the other hand, was a relatively new addition to
Yep.
that relationship, and so you have to wonder at a certain point if Sherry felt like she was losing control of Steven, and
Right.
she needed to get rid of Barbara to try to
Yep.
regain control.
Yep. And again, I think that Sherry has probably done this to a lot of people. It's just we don't hear people talk about it because they didn't end up dead,
Right.
thankfully, right? But I kind of just have that hunch because I see it happen now today with other people
Oh, yeah.
in their platforms, and it's like, it's you figure it out, and so anyway. So Sherry starts going after, in particular, Barbara, and then the community, of course, starts coming for Barbara, and they suffer like some serious cyberbullying. And this was a huge struggle for, of course, both of them. They felt betrayed by their own community. And let me tell you, that shit sucks.
Oh, yeah.
It's not fun. And especially for something like that. I mean, that's just, I've had people mad at me for some stuff before, but man, that's so petty. it's, it's real petty.
Right.
So people are coming after them. Well, at that point, of course, Steven's not being protected by Sherry. He's upset. This is his woman, and people are coming for her. People that he thought were his friends, Sherry included, and he's feeling some type of way. So, the wedge has been driven between him and Sherry, which is so ironic because, I think you're right. I think she was trying to keep some control over Steven.
Yes.
But she ended up being the reason that they had a falling out to begin with.
Yeah, I think she saw this going another way, because when you look at the private messages that were being sent around this, at first she seems to be like trying to warn him away, be like, hey, she's just not good for you. You got to stay away from her. She's a fucking vampire demon. And he's like, I don't think that's right. And the more he pushes back on it, the more she starts to shift from concerned mentor to enemy, and next thing you know, their relationship has completely soured, and it's not just Barbara, it's Steven and Barbara on the fucking hot seat.
Right. And so Steven, of course, is going his own way about it. And he one thing that he did was, of course, what they do, they got a bunch of Oregon,
Yeah.
the magical stuff. And he said, okay, well, if she's a vampire demon lady, then obviously I'm going to put this all over her and it's going to get rid of the demon, right? She's going to be unpossessed. And so he does. He puts it all over her. I believe he made his own video showing
Yep.
this, and nothing happened.
What? No way.
I know, right? I know. That's the biggest plot twist in this whole episode. You're all surprised. Nothing happened. Barbara was the same Barbara. She's still like steak tartare after that.
She's like eating steak tartare, the circle of fucking Oregon hockey pucks.
Yeah. While it's off of the Oregon hockey puck, she's like, "This is my plate." And nothing happened. And this really, I mean, it wasn't just this, but this kind of seemed like the catalyst for Steven, right? He now sees that Sherry was wrong about something in a big way.
He was disillusioned, definitely.
He was right. And, this then set him off to pick apart what she's telling people. He went and found his logic and reason. He went on a search, he found it, and he's like, look, people, this is why this is fucked up. And he is now focusing his content on taking Sherry down. And, some of the ways that he's doing is, of course, the Oregon situation where it didn't do anything. Another way is like, I heard a video of him talking about how, Sherry said that Barbara eating steak tartare was a demon thing, but Sherry herself eats shrimp, and you're not supposed to eat shrimp per the Bible. And how, that's, if as the daughter of God, that's a big deal.
Right.
But he's picking her apart. And the fucked up thing about it is that he's not wrong. And when you're somebody that's kind of backed into that corner and you're being cyberbullied by all these people, it doesn't matter if you're not wrong or not. Her army is so dedicated to her, they don't give a fuck about the facts.
Nope, not even
They
a little.
just don't care. And Tobias, I know you know how that goes. I know how that
Oh, yeah.
goes. They don't care. And it's still relentless. It's constant. But he's dedicated. He's having a crisis. I mean, he's having a full-blown identity crisis. He really believed in this stuff. And now none of it's real. And that is, well, it's traumatic for people. Even just if you look at people who survive cults, coming out of the cult is hard. It's very difficult. I mean, this requires many years of therapy, lots of introspection, and probably a good mix of medications, which is fine. That's what's needed in order to start kind of making sense and working out what you've just been through. And, not to mention all the betrayal, the loss of friendships, the loss of, that closeness with people now, while you have also isolated all of the other people in your life because they didn't believe in the shit that you believed in. So rebuilding those friendships back, if there were any to begin with, this is a crisis for Steven. He is really, really struggling with this. So where does this lead us?
Nowhere good.
Nowhere good. So I usually I'll schedule the shows around anniversary dates. I didn't mean to do it this time, but I did. July 15th, 2017. Dispatch gets a frantic phone call from one Barbara Rogers. Steven has just shot himself in the head, but not just that. Barbara claims that Steven was holding a gun up to his head and asked Barbara to come wrap her hand around his hand. And when she did that, he pulls the trigger. So he dies. I mean,
Right.
obviously, he's, unfortunately. This became a big criminal case because people are like, well, what the fuck happened? What's going on here? Now, what do we do with Barbara? And, to kind of, say what happened. I mean, during, that day that it happened, they were drinking. They were just actually kind of having a good day, it seemed like. And, she claims that Steven then just got very, very depressed. He was already very depressed all the time. Sherry ruined his life. And that's what he would say. Sherry ruined my life. And decided that he wanted to commit suicide rather than continue on and try to fight that battle against Sherry Shriner and her devotees. And, she says that she just didn't really, I mean, she said a couple of things since she's been arrested, but the story has never really changed that Steven was holding the gun to his head while she had her hand wrapped around his hand, did not pull the trigger, he pulled the trigger, and that's what happened.
Right.
Just to kind of talk about the logistics of that and what has happened since then. Barbara, we'll talk about Sherry in a minute. Barbara ended up getting a third-degree murder charge and was sentenced to 15 to 40 years in prison. And, people have debated. Some people think that she did this on purpose, that Barbara killed Steven, that they weren't getting along, and so she killed him to think that, I don't know, maybe it made her life easier. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I haven't
Um,
seen. I know people have been saying stuff like that, and I get that that's some people's first reaction to a really weird situation like this, but there's just nothing to indicate that she had a strong motive to do this. Like nothing at
yeah.
all.
I personally, just to give my personal opinion about it, I think that I think she shouldn't be in prison. I think she does have a lot of mental health issues
Yes.
that clearly need to be worked out, and we kind of know a lot more about Barbara nowadays because of this. But I wasn't really going to go too deep into that. She does need a lot of help. She's had other instances in her life where she needed a lot of help, but I don't think she should be serving her life in prison. I think that she was a witness to a very traumatizing event.
Yes. Well, and it's worth noting, we don't have to get into it, but it's worth noting that the issues that she has had before have been with suicidal ideation and attempts on
Right.
her own life. And that doesn't make her likelier to hurt somebody else.
Exactly. But of course she has tried to appeal this in court, and she may be able to. She might have a chance. She might be able to get released, way earlier than expected, and be able to appeal this. I don't think it should be. I mean, I don't think she participated. I don't think she participated. Why would she wrap her hand around his? I don't know. Maybe she thought that she was saving him. Right? Maybe she thought she could grab his hand and stop him from pulling the trigger. Maybe she didn't think he was serious. Maybe she didn't think it was
Yes.
loaded. Who knows?
Maybe she was just an unwilling participant and she didn't know where it was going to go. And she thought that participating was a way to just get past it. And then it would be over, but nobody was going to get shot. Right.
Right. Right. It was very, I don't think she should be in prison, and that's what I think.
Yeah.
But of course, the evil witch herself, Sherry Shriner,
Never misses
she's
an
the one-
opportunity. Never.
Right. She's the one spreading around that Barbara absolutely did this, and she did this maliciously because Barbara is, quote, a vampire witch reptilian super soldier. And that's why she killed Stephen.
That's so many things to be, First of all, how do I become that? Because that sounds
Right.
awesome. But then second of all, like she just keeps adding fucking words to what she's accusing Barbara of being. And she does this to fucking everybody. You start off one thing and like a year later, you're just a string of like 6 nouns, It's ridiculous.
That's vampire witch reptilian super soldier. That is a direct quote from her. I didn't make that one up. She said it. Again, yeah, she uses this opportunity and continues to talk about it. I mean, she ended up then going on to like speak of Stephen in like a great light. He was just pure, and they were such good friends, and she just can't believe Barbara did this. And
she tried to warn everybody though.
Right, she did. She tried to tell Stephen that this was going to happen because she knew, because God told her that it was going to happen. Yeah, I mean, she just, of course, uses another tragic event to validate her followers and her beliefs and, let people know that they were all right. And you know what's real fucking sick? And I'm not saying that this happened for sure, but like probably like people in her little Facebook groups or whatever were like, oh my gosh, yeah, pray for Stephen's soul. You were so right about that bitch Barbara. They probably really celebrated it. Yeah. And that's just gross. It's terrible. And anyway, a couple of months after this all happened, not too long after, I believe it was January. I'm sorry, it was a little bit longer than that. January 2021, Shriner herself died. So she's not with us any longer.
I thought she died less than a year later in 2018 of a heart attack, January 2018.
Yep, I did see that too, but I looked up her obituary. It was 2021.
Weird. So
isn't that weird?
Huh.
Isn't that fucking weird?
I don't get it. So So, okay, is this a different episode we're going to have to do? Did she fake her own death? Like, I don't, like, what the hell?
Probably. Yeah. So she died in 2018, and then her clone didn't die until 2021.
Oh, okay. Well, that does make a lot of sense.
Is what happened. No, I came across the same issue, is that I saw 2018 and then I saw 2021 on different resources, and I was like, what the fuck? What is it? So I just looked up her obituary.
Well, it could be a different Sherry Shriner died in 2021, though.
Could be. Let me look
because I'm seeing a Sherry Shriner who died in Pennsylvania in 2021.
Well, maybe I did look up the wrong one.
Yeah, I'm very certain that the Sherry Shriner that sucks, the one we're talking about, died in 2018. What's weird about that, though, is that the only information that anybody really has on it is that her family posted on her Facebook page, like, Oh, she died of a heart attack or whatever.
Weird.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. She's dead. That's the point.
Right.
Um,
That is the
yeah, because
important part. Yes,
I
she did
was
die.
interested. I'm like, well, she died in 2021. What did she think about like COVID and stuff? But I didn't find anything, so maybe that's why. Maybe she did die in 2018.
I'm pretty sure. But I had the same issue where I was trying to look up more information about her, and there's a lot of Sherry Shriners out there. There's at least
Yeah.
one other one who's like a couple actually who are in Pennsylvania. So,
Huh.
but
Which is weird because that's where like the suicide took place.
right, yeah, they were in the Poconos, but yeah, Sherry Shriner herself lived in beautiful Ohio. So
she did. Yeah, she middle of nowhere, Ohio. I can confirm that much.
Right.
BFE. But yeah, no, it's so. What the fuck, man? Like, what's just listen, guys. You can disagree on stuff, but don't fucking bully people.
right.
Like, if you bully people, I will bully you. I will come for you.
I have a very
will bring
particular set of skills.
I'll bring my Oregon and
Just start whipping Oregon hockey pucks at their head.
right. Is this gonna heal me? I hope not. It will free you though.
Right. From life.
This is how this all kind of spirals out of control. Sherry herself, did she cause this man's death? Well, yeah, actually. I mean, she didn't pull the trigger, but like she pulled the trigger of life on the guy.
Yeah, she set in motion events that made his life so bad that there was going to be a negative outcome no matter what. Didn't have to be this one, but it was going to be something no matter what.
Yeah. Yep. And this is why we really need to be careful about the people that we give platforms to. This is why we can't just turn a blind eye to certain individuals and just be like, I mean, to an extent, right? Ignoring them is the solution, but like we'll have people that are new in the community and they'll see somebody with a really large platform that's offering them a space on their platform and they'll think, well, I can gain a following, right, from chugging along with this person. But it's a very slippery slope because once you seemingly betray that person or what they see as betrayal, they're coming after you. And so you just need to really, and that's not to say if you're a small creator that everybody that has a large platform is preying on you. It's not necessarily that. But there are a lot of larger people with larger platforms that do this. And we just really need to be vigilant about looking for the signs of what we need to avoid. We need to not give them larger platforms if we have bigger platforms than them. If they already like have that air about them where, they've got these red flags, in place, we need to not be like, well, I want them to come on my show or I want to work with them, or we shouldn't. We should just fucking act like they don't exist. Like that's the solution. And I really would like to kind of go over these red flags again for you guys because I really can't stress this enough. I mean, the karma, and whether or not you believe in it, I don't know, but I do, and the karma is not worth it to get involved with people that are just fucking bullies. And yeah, so again, people that are people that are that have thoughts of grandeur, first of all, people that tell you that they are special, in the sense we're all fucking special, we all are in our own way, right? But people that act like they have some hidden knowledge over the rest of the community, like that is a big red flag. Tobias, do you think that
that
that's
is
normal?
the biggest red flag of all the red flags, and you see it all the time. And it might be somebody that you think is really cool. Maybe they're very fashionable. Maybe they're making a slick fucking product that's fun to fucking watch or whatever. But it doesn't change the fundamental red flags that we're talking about. And you got to watch out for them. Secret knowledge, that's fucking number one. Fucking one.
Yeah. They know something that the rest of us don't. And there are people actively trying to attack them because they have that secret knowledge. And, we are all, the rest of us are some type of evil that is against them. That is definitely red flag number one. Number two, again, people that are in constant turmoil with other people. People that always have some type of drama going on, and not just drama going on. You're going to have people that don't like you, and like that just happens, right?
That's
And
not your
we're
fault.
human.
Like, you don't constantly have drama going on if there are people who are jealous of your success being shitty to
Right.
you or something. That's not what we're talking about.
No, right. And like I said, we're human, and we might overshare on social media, like me, and get in our feelings. It happens. But this is like they're using their show to call out people all the fucking time. And they're definitely trying to tear others down. That they have a target, a specified target that they are trying to get you as their audience to go after.
Yes. The kind of people who will tag other people in internet arguments to try to bring in more people to bully you.
Yep. And that is that's a big red flag. Now, some people again will have beef. This happens. Some people will have little spatters. We don't all get along in the community, but this is like a constant. And again, I think people that hear this show, I think they have an idea in mind of somebody. They already know somebody. I'm not naming anybody. I'm just saying you probably already have heard of someone in the community that's like this.
Sure.
Making giant claims with unfounded, evidence. And I know that seems like a given considering the community itself. And again, we are exploring the unexplained. But these are like in Cherry Schreiner's case. She's talking about people that were killed because of her beliefs, or herself who has attempts on her life because of this. We gotta proof. You can't just say that shit. Like you gotta be able to prove it.
Right.
Even bigger claims to an extent. I kind of talked about people that claim to have recently people that claim to have like huge video or photographic evidence of like cryptids or whatever. And specifically I was talking about people that kind of profit off this thing. So like maybe they'll have a webcam and in the woods somewhere, and they'll be like, well, you can pay money and you can see Bigfoot anytime on my webcam because I have a family of them and they always show themselves. um, that is just another red flag. I mean, that's definitely a sign of a grifter, right? I'm going to promise you something that I can't provide anyway, because guess what? They never do.
Right.
You're never going to pay for that webcam, and you're never going to see the Bigfoot on it.
They're not giving any refunds. I can tell you that.
No. That is a slippery slope into cult leader behavior for sure. I mean, like I said, they've already proven they're a grifter. Leave them alone. Just no more. The other ones, Tobias, am I missing some here? Probably.
Oh boy. Yeah, I mean there's a lot. Like, you've got to beware of communities that, or so-called communities that enforce these kinds of behaviors. You know what I mean? And there are plenty out there. And they're always run by the kind of person or people that we're talking about. And I think there's a level of introspection that is necessary to avoiding this kind of thing. So, for instance, we know that they prey on vulnerable people. They generally are going to be looking for people who are lonely, people who are looking for answers, looking for meaning. And so if any of this describes you, God, have more than one community that you belong to. Join a few clubs instead of maybe just the one, right? And it's difficult because if it was easy to see yourself becoming a part of something like this, nobody ever would, right? Like, nobody ever would. But hopefully, if you know what to look for, you can at least see the red flags in time and catch yourself before it's too late. But you have to look for it. You do, and you have to be critical even of people that you like, even if you really like their product, even if you think that whatever they're putting out is just the coolest fucking thing, you can't leave it unexamined. You just can't.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that tribalism that comes into play here. I mean, that's really probably the easiest tell that there is.
Right.
Everybody kind of just taking on this set belief system, and anybody else that believes anything else is wrong, and the willingness to go and attack a single individual due to those belief systems, or what have you. I mean, that's just stay the fuck away from all of that, because the thing is that you can easily be the next target just because they need new drama. It sucks, but like are people that aren't even into the paranormal love paranormal drama.
It's true.
Just like drama in general. Um, so then those creators that end up fueling it, I mean, they think they're doing okay, right? Oh, well, this new drama gained them all these new followers. Well, it's because they're there for the fucking drama. And if they don't have drama anymore, well, they're gonna make some. They're gonna fucking make some. And you could be next. And it, it sucks, but people don't care. And I don't know if it's because they're, because they're behind a keyboard and they forget that on the other side of it is a person. I don't know what it is about them, but they just don't give a fuck. Like, they then want to make you feel bad. Their whole goal becomes to make you feel, and it's not so much like the creator itself. It's the people that fucking follow them because they want to appease the creator.
Right.
Shitty as it sounds.
Well, they feel justified, I think, in doing so, because there's always some kind of transgression that is claimed. And, whether or not that's an actual real valid transgression, of course, is arguable, but there's always some sort of claimed transgression. And so they feel righteous in their outrage, and they're more than willing to attack somebody because of that. But that's just part of being in a cult.
Exactly. And so, I mean, yeah, you just have to be very careful. Who you give your time and energy to in general. It does matter. It does make a difference. And what's really sick about it is, like, I have somebody in mind when we talk about this kind of stuff. I'm sure Tobias has somebody in mind
I
when
do.
we talk about this stuff. And what's fucked up is that I'd fucking bet you anything they're not even the same people.
Probably not.
And the listeners listening, I bet you anything they're not the same people. And like, that's how rampant this is, because they build their platforms off of that type of community. And it's a dime a dozen, to be frank with you. Anybody could make it big if you just want to be a paranormal drama channel or whatever. Paranormal.
If you're like a
podcast.
narcissistic sociopath, you will go far.
You will go very far. Yep, you sure will. And just look at, again, Sherry's trying to, her YouTube channel's still up. She's got like over 30,000 subscribers or something. She's not even alive. Like, she's got 30,000 fucking subs on YouTube. Like, that's ridiculous. But you just gotta, be careful. Stay with good people. If you and somebody that you were once friends with, that if you're having drama with in the community, if you need a mediator, I'll mediate. I don't care. I've had people that I've had falling outs with in the community, and like, I'm not even mad anymore. Was I mad in the moment? I'm sure. But like, I let that shit go. People hang on to this stuff too hard. Like, they cling to it. And that's unnecessary. Don't do that. You're my friend, whoever you are, that we had a falling out or whatever. Maybe you didn't like me before. I like you. Life's too short, and at the end of the day, we should all be here for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's researching the phenomena. And that's what I'm here for.
Yes. Well, that's the important thing. I think as long as we're on the subject, I think that there is a lot of disingenuous behavior among people like this, specifically if you're talking about the kind of person who is likely to start fights on the internet. Some people just do that for attention, and some people think it's their road to celebrity, and they can get whatever kind. Well, I don't think they care what kind of attention they're getting, as long as they're getting some kind of attention. And so something that you have to look out for is people attacking other people, other investigators, creators, whatever, solely to get attention for themselves. And so they'll start a fight with somebody and then they'll play the victim. Even though they started the fight, they'll say that they are the injured party there. And that doesn't necessarily have anything exclusively to do with like cults and cult-like behavior, but it is something that you can see within them, at least as like insofar as it is a tactic that someone can use to do the kinds of things we're talking about in terms of like stirring up drama and shit. I know I've had people that have done that to me, and it's like, dude, if you focused even half as hard on producing something of fucking quality instead of trying to drag me into your bullshit fucking drama, you would be getting like positive attention from people. But those who can't cause drama.
Yeah. Well, and you're right. It doesn't have to be a cult to be that. I mean, people clearly, like, they kill themselves over this. And, I think, like, I say that, but I think, and I know for a lot of us, fucking people kill themselves every day, right? And sometimes it doesn't hit hard enough. People who have lives, who have families, who have kids, who have parents, kill themselves because people bully them on the internet.
Right.
That's real. Are fucking ghosts real? I don't know. Are aliens real? Yeah, I think so, but I can't prove it. But what is real is that people get bullied so badly, it fucks them up to the point to where they would rather just not live another day to deal with it anymore. And there's no reason for anybody in this community to have a hand in that.
Right.
It's disappointing. It's disgusting. It makes you a bad person. Don't do it. And it's so easy to fall into that. We need to check ourselves and hold ourselves accountable to make sure that we're not doing it. Now, unless somebody is like a really terrible person, I mean, but they have to be, and I'm not talking like, oh, they just talk shit about my favorite person in the paranormal. Like, I'm talking like they are terribly bad, and we can prove that they're terribly bad.
Convicted of like being a fucking sex predator or something. Like convicted in a court of law.
Chris
like
Hansen
that level.
caught him talking to minors on the internet. Then yes, fuck that person.
Right.
I guess even that's a slippery slope, some people say, but I'm not going to get into that discussion. But yes, I mean, obviously, if I have to say that there's a fucking disclosure to the statement of not bullying people to death, but I think we all get it, right? I think we're all get the point. Stephen Mineo was not that person. Did he have beliefs that I didn't believe in? Absolutely. But was he still a human being that deserved to live out the rest of his life? Absolutely.
Yeah, he didn't.
And not feel like shit every day? Yeah.
He didn't do anything wrong.
So, I mean, should Barbara Rogers be able to enjoy steak tartare? I hope she gets out of prison and she gets to have steak tartare every day for the rest of her life.
There you go. Well, I mean, and it really is impossible to deny the many parallels that existed within the online communities surrounding Sherry Schreiner's work, like the online cult that she had developed, and the online communities that exist within the paranormal right now. I cannot stress this enough. If you bother to look into it, you will see the many, many, many similarities. You will see how they tend to work the same. You will see the same kind of groupthink. You will see the same kind of manufactured outrage in service of a fucking celebrity or figurehead. It's obvious if you have eyes to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only reason why we know about Stephen is because it became like a high profile criminal case because they were convicting Barbara of murder. And think about all the people we don't know about that actually are, they commit suicide. We call it suicide. We don't talk about it anymore.
Suicides don't make the news that often.
They don't. And then they just stop posting right on social media. Yep. That's it. I mean, that's the end of it. That's all we know. We don't know why. They're just gone. It happens. This stuff happens. And we need to work better to not be a part of that. And I think we all need to remember that another reason, not just for the phenomenal, let's be real here. Another reason that we're in this community is because guess what? We also want to feel special. We want to feel validated and we want to feel like we belong somewhere. And that means, making friends. That means making connections. That means, again, getting that validation. Maybe you had a weird experience. Maybe you didn't. But we were all definitely the weird kid. We all were. And we didn't join this community thinking that we would be the butt of someone's joke or the target of of harassment or anything like that. So let's not do that to each other. Okay?
That would be
That's my
great.
piece.
Okay, starting now. No more.
No more. Not doing it anymore. If I catch you doing it, I'm telling you, me and my bag full of Oregon.
I got a
My
sock
Oregon
full of
stick.
Oregon with your fucking name on it.
Tobias has been working out.
That's
Okay,
right.
that's fucking Nate. Like I said, kills dino beavers with his bare
He
hands.
can fight a
Try
bear.
me.
He could box a bear. So you just watch out.
Just saying. You be fucking nice to each other, damn it. But no, it's again, this is why we talk about the problems in the paranormal, because it's a very human experience that we're all having together.
Oh yeah, I think every issue that I've had with a specific individual, and there hasn't been many, but it's happened a couple times, has been because they were this type of person or they were aspiring to be this type of person. Like they
Yeah.
hadn't quite
Oh,
made
yeah.
it. They hadn't made it yet, and they still haven't, luckily. But they would be Sherry Shriner if they could.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. That's same. Yep. That's how it is. And unfortunately for you bitches, I fuel myself with vengeance, and I would just be better and do better, and that's how I'm gonna get my revenge on you. And so, I welcome it, you narcissists. Target me, I dare you. I'm not gonna care. I'm just gonna block you everywhere
Yes.
and move on
That's
with
what
my
I do.
life.
I block and forget they exist. But there are
Yeah.
people who, well, that's again, I don't know.
Weasel their way
Yeah,
in.
they
Yeah,
don't.
there are other people. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's just a lot of these people, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it because it's
Sure.
pretty far off topic. But like I said before, it's people who aren't willing or maybe just aren't capable of doing work that anybody ever actually wants to interact with. And so this is their way of getting attention. And so that's what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anybody that might feel that they are a victim or they are unseen or they haven't maybe found their spot in the community, we got a spot for you at the On Wednesdays We Talk Weird table.
Sure.
Come sit at our
Yeah,
table.
why not?
The only thing that we require is that you fucking don't bully people. That's it. I don't care what you believe in. I don't care if you're a crazy, conservative. I don't care if you're a lesbian liberal. I don't care if what color you are. I don't care. I don't care about any of that stuff. I don't care if you love Jesus. I don't care about any of that stuff. I just care that you are a decent human being. That's what I care about.
Right.
So you can come sit with us and we'll talk about it. I'll get your perspective. I want to hear your story. I want to know why you believe in what you believe in. Let's have a conversation, a judgment-free zone conversation. I'm going to ask you probably a lot of uncomfortable questions, but that's just me. I've sat at many tables and have looked at people and asked what their butthole looks like. I like uncomfortable questions. That's just what I do.
That's fair. Most people don't know what their butthole looks like. I don't know what mine looks like.
Maybe I should change the question now to, do you know what your butthole looks like?
Right. Now I'm curious. I'm like, I hope it looks normal. I don't want to look and be
You're
like,
gonna
oh shit, it's all fucked up. Now I got to go to the doctor.
After the show, you're going to go to Emily and be like, will you take a picture of my butthole for me?
Well, that's uncomfortable. I have to use the mirror in the bathroom or something. I don't know.
Get your selfie stick.
Right?
Stand over the mirror. That's how you do
Yeah.
it.
See, now you're thinking. Yeah.
Ask me how I know. You get curious. You got to check on it sometimes. On top of being a good person, make sure your butthole is healthy.
Yeah, sure.
That's all I'm saying.
That's our main message. Butthole health.
Butthole health is very important to the paranormal. Anyway, do you have any final words of wisdom before I end this?
Boy, I don't know about wisdom, but look, honestly, here's what you got to do. Break your addiction to outrage and replace it with an addiction to research and nuanced fucking opinions, because that's what we need. We don't need more people getting fucking mad at other people that they don't fucking know because of something that some liar said about them on the internet. Okay? So just fucking knock it off. if you're going to get mad at somebody, you better have a good fucking reason. And you better be able to prove that what you're mad about actually fucking exists in the way that you think it does.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it even matters. Like,
Right.
first of all, like, let's make
right.
sure it even fucking, is it going to affect you in 10 years?
Fucking touch grass. Yeah, that's the other part. Like, why do you care?
Jeez. Right. Yeah. And again, I get it. We're human. I understand, right? It's just fucking the catalyst because you had a shitty week. And the last thing you need is somebody fucking calling you a redheaded slut on social media or whatever.
Sure.
And then, then you get mad and then you're like, well, but fucking, they were right. I am a redheaded slut. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, you say that like it's a bad thing,
I'm going to go strut my slut all over this city. That's turn it into a positive, right?
Flip it.
Own it. So yeah, no, absolutely great words. Love them. Yeah, like I said, if you guys need assistance with anything, don't reach out to us, but reach out to a therapist.
Right. For assistance with mental health issues, you're going to want to go ahead and find a mental health professional. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do that. And like I've said many times, you want to bitch in my inbox, you can. I can't promise I'm going to, commiserate with you too much back and forth. I'll try. But yeah, mental health professional, do it. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
You got to be healthy.
Yeah.
You got to be, your brain's got to be as healthy as your butthole. They both have to match.
Right. They both need
The curtain.
constant observation.
Yes. In order to make sure that they're both in good health.
Right.
So the curtains must match the drapes, is what.
What?
But on the backside.
Right.
Anyway,
So like your
I'm done
mind
talking.
curtain has to match your butthole drapes.
Your butthole drapes. Yep.
Okay. No, I get it. All right. Well, I think we nailed it.
That's how you know I've been talking too much. So I'm going to jump off my soapbox. And with that being said, guys, we'll see you back here next Wednesday